how to know if a property is a good investment. My name is Ted Thomas. I've been involved in the real estate business, especially tax lien and tax deeds, for the last 30 years. I started out as an investor, and then I became a coach and a teacher and a guide, and I've been teaching people how to do this for the last 25 years. So tax lien certificates and tax deeds are great investments. But what you want to know is if you could buy it at the auction, how much margin would you have in the selling price? So is it a good investment or not? Well, this is an investment that I discovered about 30 years ago, and it's quite lucrative, and I'll teach you the steps as I go along. So the brilliance of these tax defaulted properties is how easy it is to locate information. Now, it wasn't that easy years ago, but now you can do everything online. So if you're watching me online right now, we can teach you all the steps of doing this by doing it online. Now, it takes a little while. You're not going to get rich by Friday, but this will always work. Now, at the end of this video, I have a gift for you. It's a mini course. It'll teach you the secrets of tax liens, and it'll also teach you how to make money with tax defaulted property. It's free, and it's a gift when I finish. I'll also have, at the end of the video, I'll tell you about how to avoid the big mistakes at tax auction. 2 big mistakes are made at these auctions. I want you to be sure to avoid those mistakes. And so I'll teach you that towards the end. So I'll be right back. Well, you want to buy it low and you want to sell it high. But I recommend you buy it low and sell it low so you can do it quick. But I'll show you about this property evaluation. Now, the challenge is you need to have margin if you're going to make money in business. And the margin in this business is all made when you buy. You make your money in real estate when you buy. So you need to establish the margin. In other words, the price that you're willing to pay and that you know you can sell it at whatever price. Now, how are you going to learn about all that? Well, across the United States, they hold lots of these auctions. There's over 100 million properties in the United States. 2 or 3% of those properties will end up at a tax defaulted auction. No better place to buy than a tax defaulted auction. Why? Because they're going to sell at very close to the back taxes, and they'll have the mortgage deleted. So that means you're going to buy a property without a mortgage. So that's going to give you a ton of margin, much better than going to a foreclosure auction. So the question I'm answering is how to know, is the property a good investment? Well, if the property's got enough room, $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, between the purchase price and what you think you can sell it for, you've got a great investment. So let's talk about that. So this is kind of a short video. When I get into videos like this, I can't get into too much depth, but I'll get into enough so that you understand what's going on here. So let's talk about how would you evaluate property. Now, if you've been around the internet for a while, you know about Google, you know about Google Maps, you know about Zillow, and you know about some of the real estate sites. For example, the MLS system. You know that there's many ways to appraise a property. One way you can always find out what a property is worth is check with the county and see what the tax collector says. So that'll give you a rough idea. Another way is look at the multiple listing system. But something I want to introduce you to, if you don't know about it, is called the Geographical Information System. Now, for short, they use an acronym GIS. Geographical Information System. Now, this is the best thing since sliced bread. It's a satellite that's circling the world, and of course, you can get into the satellite online, and you can bring views from the 10,000-foot view all the way right down to you, almost right over the property. And there's a ton of other information. So if you have no idea about the Geographical Information System, we have videos within this channel that will tell you about that. But right now, let's just know that this is the most accurate way to check out property. I'm not saying not to use Google. I'm not saying not to use any of the other appraisal systems. You want to use them all, but this is the best one of all. All right, so this system is not only worth learning about, but it's superior. And so when I say superior, it's going to give you values in the neighborhoods. It's going to give you locations. It's going to give you the bird's eye view of the property. And why do you want to know all that? Well, you want to know that because tax auctions are going to sell property at very close to the back taxes. So that means that you're buying at rock bottom. At tax auctions, the mortgage is wiped out. So now if you can figure out a value, you're doing pretty good. Now, does that mean you're going to get every property for 10 cents on the dollar and you're going to sell it for 100 cents on the dollar? No. But what if it was a $200,000 property and you could get it for 10 cents on the dollar. Do you have to hold out to get 200,000? No. You could hold out and say to yourself, well, I bought it pretty right. Why don't I sell it right? So you could sell it for $40,000 or $50,000 and make a nice profit. Well, why would you do that? Well, because you bought it low and you could sell it quickly to a fixer-upper person. So the whole idea here is let's buy properties that have good margin, and you'll find that at the tax defaulted auction. So it's up to you to always know the value of the property that you're buying so that you don't bid too high. For example, a $100,000 property, you don't want to bid $100,000, but if you can get it for 20 or 30 cents on the dollar, you have plenty of margin. So if you spent 30 cents on the dollar and it was worth 100,000, a lot of margin. Now, if that's me, I would then sell it for 49,000 and make myself $29,000 profit. I just get into the profit range very quickly, and I just want to buy the property and quickly sell it. Now, other people have a different way to do it, but I'm going to tell you, if you can buy low and sell low and do it quickly, there's going to be plenty of property. So why not be in that business instead of doing what everybody else is doing, fixing properties up? That's not a lot of fun, and it costs a lot of money. All right, so this is a business that you can do from your kitchen table. By that I mean, if you're watching me right now, you're probably watching me online, so guess what? Why didn't you learn how to do business online? Now you can sit there on your rusty dusty and start making money. All right, now I never said bypass Zillow. I didn't say bypass the MLS. I didn't say bypass Google. I want you to do all that, but keep in mind that GIS, Geographical Information System, that's really going to be a superior system and give you an inside track on what properties are worth. Now, if you know what they're worth, then you're not going to bid too high, because if the property's worth X and you can sell it way under X, it's going to happen quickly. Now, why would you want to do that? You want to do that because you need cash flow. Cash flow is important. Now, who does things quickly? Well, I can tell you a couple of places that do not only quickly, but they give you good prices. One is Costco, one is Walmart, one is Target. They all do the same thing. They buy it low, and they add something to it, and they sell it. They don't try to get Macy prices or Goldman Sachs price. They try to get profits out of each one of those. And check it out. Drive around. Look at their parking lots on Saturday. You got to wait in line for a parking space. People want bargains. If you're in the business of buying low and selling low, you're going to be successful. Success is what you're after here. So what's the question I'm answering? I'm answering the question, how do you know if the property is a good investment? The only way you're going to know is you're going to have to know the values that you could sell it at. So the answer to the question is really easy. So if you've ever wondered how to appraise property and evaluate it, you now have to start learning that. And you can learn that by using these electronic systems. Okay, so the challenge for you is tax auctions. You always want to look at the property, because some of these properties are used and abused. All right, so you're not going to get top dollar for those kind of properties. But if you can buy them for 20 and 30 cents on the dollar, wow, why not sell them for 50 cents on the dollar? Now, does that mean you have to sell the exact amount I talked about? No, but I found a system that's worked for me for the past 25 years. I buy as low as I can. I sell it at a profit every time, but I don't try to get top dollar. I want to give the other guy some room so he can get in it, and I want to sell it quickly. I don't want to fix it up. Now, do I end up with a fixer once in a while? Yes. That's going to take me 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. That means I'm paying taxes. That means I'm paying heating. It means I'm paying security. It means I'm taking care of the lawn. I'm taking care of fix-up. I've always got something to do if I'm hanging on to that property. And what if I bought it 2,000 miles away? Do I know if that stuff's getting done? I teach people in other countries how to buy in the United States. So if you buy properties, you want to be able to sell them relatively quickly. Now, obviously, I have plenty of videos on teaching how to sell it. We're not going to do that today. All right, so if you're going to buy a tax-defaulted property, it's going to be challenging in this respect. This respect is, number one, buy it as low as possible, but know what you're going to sell it for before you go to the auction. If you don't know what you're going to sell it for goodness sake, don't get involved. If you don't know an exit strategy, don't buy and hope you're going to figure it out later. 90% of the people that buy at auction, then they go and try and figure it out. It's too late. You maybe have spent way too much money for that property. All right, so determining the value and the market conditions are going to be important. Now, it doesn't take much to figure out market conditions. Either the market's good, or it's great, or it's bad. There's no in-betweens, though, because real estate goes up and then it goes down. Now, if you're paying too high and it starts down, you're going down with it. And you can ask anybody that lived in Phoenix over the past 10 years, or lived in Las Vegas, or lived in Miami-Dade, what happened to them? That market crashed out from under them. Didn't matter if they only had a very small mortgage. They still lost the properties, because when the real estate comes down, it really comes down. Now you're going to be buying at 5 and 10 and 20 cents on the dollar. So it's got a long way to come down. But remember, the market's super competitive when it's coming down. All right, so what are we doing today? Well, we're answering the question, how to know is a property a good investment? And you're going to know by checking values. All right, you're going to have to try to find the values online, what they are. You're going to maybe even hire people to go survey the neighborhoods, but you're going to know what the value is and not be guessing. Now, do you think people guess a lot? What they do is they think every property at the auction is going to be a bargain. Guess what? Every property is not a bargain. Just because it's an auction doesn't mean it's a bargain. There's some properties are used and abused, some properties are abandoned, some properties are worthless, and some properties you just shouldn't even look at. It's going to cost you too much money to get yourself out of it. All right, so you've probably never done this, so I don't want you to start doing it. This is not the business that you see on TV. The business you see on TV is entertainment. You see this pretty girl telling you what they're going to do at this house, and it's an average to mediocre house, and they end up 29 minutes later, it's a mansion. And there's these grisly contractors going in and out. And then there's these sponsors knocking fireplaces down with sledgehammers. Folks, that isn't the business I'm in. That business is all entertainment. If you see the money that's being poured into those properties, you need to think about it. You want to buy them and quickly sell them. I doubt very much if you're going to have a pretty girl standing out front directing the contractor. I doubt very much if those contractors would listen to her. They're gritty guys, and they got paint, and they got hats on backwards. They're working to get done quickly so they can get on to the next job. They're dusty, they're dirty. That is not the business you want. And they put thousands and thousands of dollars into just staging the house so it'll look pretty when the cameras come through. Folks, this is a big job. Okay, if you're a fixer-upper guy, you got the great business. There's plenty of these properties for you. That's the business you like. You got it. There's plenty of them here. But for most of my clients, they want to buy and they want to resell. All right, so I'm getting very close to the end. Remember, I'm going to have a gift for you below me. But before I finish, I'm going to answer 2 questions. Where are state statutes and why are they important? Folks, when someone says statutes, that simply means where are the rules. All right, if you want rules to your state, obviously there'll be the state will have a library. Every big city will have a library, and they're just books with all the rules in them. That's what the state statutes are. Now, if you have an attorney, you can more than likely go to their office and you go to the library or the conference room, and it's all covered with books. Those are the statutes, and anybody can read them. Statute just means it's the rules for that particular state and county. Oh boy, what is title insurance? Okay, when you go to sell a property, the buyer will say, well, wait a minute, I want to have title insurance. Now, why do I want title insurance? Because they want to make sure that you own it. If you don't own it, you shouldn't be selling it. And if you get caught selling some property you don't own, you'll go to jail. All right, so let's hold on here. If you want to sell it, you need to make sure the title is clear. So when you buy the property, if you buy it in an auction, you might have to do what's called a quiet title. Now, I don't have 10 minutes to answer it now, but there will be answers on my channel on quiet title. But basically that means someone's checked all the paperwork and everything's right, and it's okay for you to sell. When the title is clear, in other words, there's no mortgage on it, and no liens on it, the title is clear, you can sell. In the old days, they used a warranty deed. And so whoever owned a property, if I owned it and I sold it to you, I had to warranty it was clear and it had clear title. But what if I sold it to you and there was problems and I went to Mexico? Well, I'm gone. So now people buy insurance to make sure that's done, and you buy that from a title company who checks all that. It's a simple process that they do. You're not ever you'll never do one, but you will buy title insurance. So that's all I have for today. There's some videos below that other people liked and watched, so I'll list those for you there, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.